Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're in a different spot again. You guys are probably never gonna see like multiple videos in a row in one spot. I really like to move. I really like changes of scenery, so get used to that because that's something that's going to be happening quite a bit as I get more frequent with these videos. But yeah, I know I said I wasn't probably wasn't going to do another video anytime soon, but I really just felt compelled to do something with my life. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning right now, and I haven't been able to sleep in multiple days, and I've just been feeling kind of down. So this is how I am choosing to combat that. Right now we're in my art studio, which is actually just my garage. You can see I have tons of stuff hung up in the back, and there was tons of stuff hung up in the front, but I took a lot of it down so I could rearrange it. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of empty, very empty at the moment, but it's my home, it's my sanctuary, and be nice to it. I know it's really plain for an art studio. I'm working on it. I am not burnt out and depressed, but I'll work on it starting now. Today I really just wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind for a long time, something that I doubt I'm the only person experiencing, and that is the glorification of mental struggle. That might sound like a crazy thing to say, but hear me out, please. I think I have a lot to say on this topic, and I would love some feedback, some opinions, some different viewpoints on it. Also, I'm sure you guys already saw the title of this video, but this is gonna be like a thing that this whole channel is just me being like a raging fucking pessimist, which I've realized. So I figured I would just do a little like series called Pessimist Perceptions, as you can see from the title, where I just talk about the way that I perceive things being a pessimist. Definitely not the most like lighthearted thing you could watch. I mean, probably prefer like some freaking Ryan Trahan going on his like little tours of America, which I'm so fucking jealous of. But you know, next best thing right here. Really need to come up with an actual intro. I'm so sorry. With all that being said, sit back, relax. This one's probably gonna be a longer one because I actually have a lot to say. And for once, I am feeling the motivation to edit. So you know what? We can make this one a little longer. So yeah, sit back, relax, get a snack or something, and let's talk. Let's dive in. So the reason I decided to make this particular video in the first place was because this has been my entire life. Honestly, I have lived in one big ball of like fucking self-pity and sadness and depression and anxiety and the whole 9 yards, this, that, and the third. So I know what it's like to kind of live and suffocate yourself in your own suffering. And because of that, I know what it's like to kind of become dependent on that to be a person, and in turn kind of start to like it, which of course sounds crazy and disgusting and vile. Why would you like to feel sad? But I wanted to talk about kind of the reasons that I personally feel that, and I'm sure at least 1 or 2 of you feel the same way in some capacity. So maybe by me talking about how I feel, it might help somebody else feeling the same way who doesn't understand it. Disclaimer, I'm very blunt on this topic, so if I say anything that's like offensive in any way, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to at all. So with all that being said, I can get into like the nitty-gritty of this whole conversation, and to do that I want to start at the root, which is the mental illnesses. I don't really like using that term. I don't like the term illnesses, but that lead to this sort of mindset. For me personally, growing up, I was always like this. I was always a super pessimistic kind of person. I never really found joy in anything, and the things that I did find joy in, I like kind of ruined for myself, and it was always on purpose. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that a lot of that, as I just said, was deliberate. So much of it was deliberate. And you'd probably wonder, why would you intentionally ruin good things for yourself? To which I would say, I literally don't know. I literally don't know. And I've literally never known until fairly recently. And even then I don't know fully, but this is kind of the conclusion I've come to as of late. growing up feeling so down all the time and keeping yourself in that hole with like the hobbies that you do that bring you down even more, the people you talk to that bring you down even more, the way you talk to yourself that brings you down even more. When you get into that hole, it's not necessarily a happy place by any means, but it is a comfortable place, and it's really easy to confuse comfort with happiness when you're in such a dark space. In my personal experience, I remember throughout middle school, I was always super depressed. I was always going through something with my friend group or my family or myself, and that was kind of the start of my like depression journey, the start of it, under which I just became so comfortable with being in a dark space because it was, at that point, it was pretty much all I knew. Every day I was going to school, coming home crying, going to school, coming home crying, losing my absolute fucking shit day in and day out. And at a certain point, you begin to like it. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just the other day about how, about addiction and how it affects people's brains and their relationships and their actions and everything like that. And throughout this conversation, I really realized that when we think of addiction, we think of drugs, alcohol, weed, things of the sort. We don't think of depression, anxiety, literally anything negative for our mental spaces at all. We don't think about that stuff because that all seems involuntary. And to a very far extent, it is involuntary. But there's that one little section, that little margin of involuntary, and does that make sense? I'm gonna try to be like sincere from Love Island and give you guys like a weird analogy. There's like a, think of it as like a worm, okay? And like 13% of that worm's tail can be cut off. But it can grow back if you allow it to grow back. And that little 13% of that worm's tail is the little margin between involuntary and I want that. Does that make sense? God. All that to say, there's a certain piece of the feelings that we have that can be changed, that can be gotten rid of, that can be ignored, that can be fixed, that can be furthered in the correct direction if we so allow it to. And that is where so many people fall victim to not their mental struggles, their own desire to stay that way. I feel like this is a really controversial topic. I know it is a really controversial topic, but I feel that it's important to speak on because there is coming from someone who does it themselves, there's a big percentage of us out there who understand the repercussions of feeding into our unhealthy habits and still doing so, even with knowing the repercussions that can come with it. Within that like little margin of, voluntary and involuntary, there's also the small amount of people who kind of weaponize their mental illnesses or internal mental struggles. And that percentage of people is like 0.2% away from the other percentage of people who are just people who voluntarily do it themselves. But that's do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like the margin, the slim little tiny bit between voluntary and involuntary is even still separated in the voluntary side. Even still, but smaller. I hope I'm making like literally any sense. It is 1 o'clock in the morning, by the way, you guys. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's literally 1 o'clock in the morning, so bear with me. At the end of the day, it comes down to what you're willing to do for yourself. There's only so much help that others can offer to you. There's only so many things that you can turn down, only so many things that you can get done for you, or there's only so much. The people around you who care for you, they can only do so much. Your therapist can only do so much. Your psychiatrist can only do so much. Your medication can only do so much. Sunlight can only do so much. Water can only do so much. A lot of it has to come from internally. I've always been one to genuinely hate people who say it's a mindset thing, because so much of it literally is not a mindset thing. So much of it is, as I said, involuntary. But go back to that lizard analogy I just talked about, okay? That little that little tail that can be shed, the voluntary part, that tiny little bit is a mindset thing. That tiny little bit is a mindset thing. And if you find it in yourself to overcome that mindset that you play into, that mindset that you can't do it, then you never will. You'll stay stuck forever. That hole you dug for yourself, it's your hole, it's your home. It will always be comfort to a person who doesn't search for anything else. Sometimes we search and we don't find anything. Sometimes we search and we're hurt more, and that hole goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's why, honestly, that's why I haven't dug myself out yet. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people don't dig themselves out, because they try to, and then something else happens. And then they're like, you know what, maybe it's safer in my hole. Maybe it's safer if I don't do anything else, because then at least I can't go any deeper. I just stay here. But that mindset is what's going to kill you. That mindset is what's going to take over every second of your life. That mindset can be what ultimately takes your life. At the end of the day, we can only control so much of how we feel, especially when you have literal chemical imbalances in your brain that keep you from fully controlling it. But what you can control, it is so imperative to at least give yourself the chance to control it. You can make it out, and I can make it out too. Focus on the voluntary. Because what you can do for yourself is all you can control. You can't control external factors. You can't control the literal chemical imbalances. You can't control others' actions. You can't control the way of the universe. But you can control a tad bit of yourself. And that bit of yourself that you can control, use it to help yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are alone. You're alone, and I'm alone. Everyone else, we're all alone. Friends, you might have family, you might have a therapist, a psychiatrist. You might have help. And in that sense, you're not alone. But when it's the middle of the night, and it's just you and your thoughts and your brain, you're alone. And in those moments, you can't take that voluntary and dig it deeper. That being said, that was a pretty depressing video. I really hope you guys understand the whole message of this video, and I hope that, at least in some capacity, even though it was kind of harsh, it motivated you to take what is voluntary and turn it into something good for yourself. Because you are alone. So find peace in it. Find solace. Comfort yourself. Confide in yourself. Be yourself. Because you truly are all that you have. So, while you still have yourself. Anyways, that was definitely a heavy video. But I hope it made like literally any sense. Like I said, it's like really early in the morning, and I haven't slept very much as of late, so I'm a little cuckoo, a little wonky, a little crazy. But I really hope that you all enjoyed this video for the most part. I will try to be more consistent. I think I'm actually, this is a step, so, you know, we'll get there. Until next time, thank you for watching, and remember, wherever you go,